Is this a demon or just a crazy lady? No, it's just a modern dating scene in Los Angeles, as of course the crazies are taking over. And you could pretty much see that with the very toxic discourse that we have online right now that is centered around demons. Now, it's pretty clear, in my own personal opinion, that this conversation could go in multiple different kind of directions, but I want to make sure it goes down the rabbit hole here, as there's a lot of different things to discuss here, specifically from the events that happened in Minneapolis and the reaction to it, which has sparked some very interesting criticism from Ungar-Sargon and Nick Fuentes that actually had very unique types of criticisms here that I think are worth hearing out here in this larger kind of moral debate about what is right and what is wrong, and how essentially all of us are facing evil, but also becoming a little bit evil ourselves here. As Nick had some very interesting criticisms of the right, and Batya had some very interesting criticisms of the left. Some self-reflection here, which I think is needed now more than ever in an ever so toxic populated world of people just trying to get clicks, attention, and views. To what extent, though? And are we playing into this kind of demonic entity that's out there? Well, that's something that, of course, is up to interpretation. And if you appreciate our perspective and topic of videos, subscribe, click the notification button. Give us the clicks! I'm kidding. I was gonna say a specific name, but then I was like, that's a little bit too real. That's a little bit too much. I was gonna do it sarcastically, facetiously, but I'm like, I don't even want to do that because I believe in a lot of this stuff. I'll tell you why in just a little bit. As there are, let's be honest, a lot of satanic, demonic people out there that do worship and do release specific signals and do specific rituals to evil demonic entities out there. Now, in my personal opinion, there's always this weird kind of event. Every time someone invokes the name of, whoa, what the hell? I didn't do that. I think this is, can I unwind that? Now you got to look at my face. I'm sorry. My camera does this sporadically sometimes. I don't know why. It is weird that when you invoke Jesus Christ, a lot of these kind of demonic possession or a lot of these kind of spiritual attacks, a lot of these kind of evil feelings of dark or sinister energies encompassing you, taking you over, or making contact with you disappear. I don't think that's a coincidence, and there's multiple reports from a lot of people, a lot of prominent people that detail this extensively, saying, hey, I was going through sleep paralysis. I was dealing with an incredibly crazy situation. Tucker Carlson, who is big into talking about angels and demons and religious kind of philosophy as well, was talking about how a demon literally scratched him and left scratch marks on his back. And a lot of people attacked, usually very prominent people, usually always describe, I invoked in the name of Jesus Christ, and then those demons kind of went away. So there is something happening in our world, in our life, that is definitely very spiritual, that we still do not have no understanding of, that's very difficult to scientifically quantify and to really show, because it's one, a very personal thing, but two, also most importantly, it's also something that is outside of our realm of science and understanding that we do not understand. Now, the New York Post had an article talking about how this latest type of Catholic school attack was demonic. And I would agree. Cat Turd says, glad to see people calling out these demons like they deserve. Now, is that just an easy oversimplification? I don't know. But people have different reactions. I think the first type of reaction that I had is like, okay, how do we prevent this from happening again? How do we stop this? One, I'm a big proponent of self-defense. That's why we're doing a self-defense class for members of LukeUnfiltered.com. You want to find that out, just, whatever, sign up, and then we got all the details there. But other people, like Congresswoman MTG, have a different approach here. She just released a 7-minute video describing we got to stop funding foreign countries and take that money on foreign wars, and we could spend those tax dollars protecting our school children. I'm okay with that. I'm definitely okay with teaching people self-defense and protecting children. I think it only makes sense here in a world where there's a lot of violent, crazy lunatics out there that some people argue are demonically possessed. Now, Melania Trump kind of released something that automatically kind of triggered me personally, because essentially what she's kind of talking about here, and this is my interpretation of it, is she's talking about predictive programming, artificial intelligence type of technocratic AI system. As a lot of people are responding, yeah, this is going to be the Palantir mass surveillance system that's going to track, trace, and database everyone and do a threat assessment on them. And of course, this will be used for political purposes eventually, as this gives overwhelming amount of power to a select few individuals controlling the software, controlling this type of tech, that of course will use it for their own sinister purposes. As she's talking about preemptive intervention. Early signs, and there's a lot of people, including a lot of people on Fox News, being like, yes, this is when we implement the red flag laws and pre-crime software. And automatically I'm like, no. Like, that's a bad idea. Jack Posobiec, for some reason, responded by saying, amen. Why, Jack? I disagree with you. Jack, what are you doing? Valentina, too. Her message, I don't think, is currently related to this. She has her point of view on this. That's definitely getting a lot of attention, especially after her latest son. As a lot of people are saying, this message brought to you by Palantir. Yeah. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, look, it's these leftists. And again, there's a conversation to be had about that. But I want to continue on the pathway of demons. Before playing the clip from Batia and before playing the clip from Nick Fuentes, I wanted to tell you about wearechange.shop. We got a great shop. We got a lot of great supplements. If you're having a hard time picking which supplements or which bundles or which products are good for you, and again, we got a whole bunch of supplements. Once we sell out of one of these, we're never going to bring them back. It's just a hassle to make there. We got t-shirts, we got CBD, we got tea. But these bundles down here, we also have these fundraising items here. They're a little bit more expensive if you want to fundraise and donate to me. This is just limited edition items that we have around the house. And we just decided to do a premium because if you want to, do a fundraiser, this is the way to do it. And then you get something unique that not a lot of people have, like a funny yard sign or a funny hat. But this bundle right here is really the cream of the crop. This is where you save the most amount of money on wearechange.shop. And we got a bundle for him. We got a bundle for her. You could save a bunch of money by getting these bundles. You save like $40 for the for him bundle. And then you save over $30 on the for her bundle. Great bundles, only available on wearechange.shop. So for male health, for female health, and also just to make it more convenient, we package them really nicely. So if you have a birthday, if you have an event, if you have an anniversary, if you have any reason why you need to gift someone something, boom, we made it easy for you. We put it in a nice box. You could even just put your name. To, from, we put that sticker on there. We make it look nice. We make it look presentable, especially for the ladies. We got the little pink sparkly paper in there. For men, we have this kind of more casual look here. But this is the way to do it. For him, for her, we just made it easy. You save a bunch of money, and you get the bundles all on wearechange.shop. You support your own individual health, and you grow this independent media organization that is focused around positive change rather than telling you to drink booze and gamble. A lot of other people are like, buy this booze, buy this fluoride, go gamble. I'm like, come on, man. Really? Like, stop it. This is insane here. And, I'm going to probably make a separate video about the pre-crime stuff, which is crazy. But this is not the focus of this video. Now, again, lots of people really bad takes here. A lot of people are like, oh, look, it's the leftoids. Rosie O'Donnell, look, it's a white man. He's a Republican MAGA person, white supremacist. I'm like, really? Put it down. Put the phone down, Rosie. Rosie, you're not doing too well. And we could all tell that from those type of ridiculous statements. I think that Babylon Bee has the most kind of... I think they have the best take here. Because, you see... And this is kind of fatigue that I'm dealing with, too. Every time there's like a mass type of event, I'm like... Yeah, everyone's tweeting about it. Okay, let's tweet out the basic information. And then everyone spreads fake news and everyone wants to be on top. And everyone's just like, I want the hottest take. And I'm like, this just doesn't feel right. It feels weird, man. It feels like Like, I get it. We're in a media cycle. And like, there was also another clip of TMZ having their meetings. And then they're like, Hulk Hogan died. And it was like this like race to like be the first to report on it. That was like very like evil, in my opinion. It was very unhuman. It wasn't consideration. It wasn't care, compassion. It was like a race. We got to be fast. We got to be the first. And I'm like, there's a lot of kind of like sociopathic type of tendencies here. As I think the Babylon Bee really hit it out of the park. And listen, I try not to be guilty of this. I'm guilty of this sometimes too, and I was especially earlier on, and I definitely kind of quieted it down a lot. But only in hindsight do I really understand the kind of bigger perspective here. As Babylon Bee writes, journalists rush to get story out before it could be ruined by the facts. Yeah, and that's what we saw a lot of people do. But it's pretty clear here, this Minnesota story related to, of course, hormone imbalances through transition. I think that's the major overall thesis here. I think this guy was trolling people. He wrote that he was sponsored by BlackRock. He wrote that he wanted Brandon Herrera to be the president of the United States. He talked about a lot of conflicting messages. There was no unified messaging here. But it did seem like the left automatically had a very unified message right afterwards. And a lot of top leftist content creators and spokespersons all came out and said, don't pray. Don't pray. I'm like, wait, what? That's just weird. And Ungar-Sargon quantified it and explained it in a very concise, very thoughtful way.
I think it's really important for people to understand why people on the right got so upset by the Democrats' response. What happened was a person who seems to be a trans person murdered praying Catholics. And the Democrats' response was to rush to attack prayer and then defend the trans community. So there was a reversal of the victim and the perpetrator, which, by the way, was exactly what the shooter had written on his guns. He wrote, "Where is your God?" And that was what a lot of people on the right heard when Democrat after Democrat after Democrat came out and said, prayers are not enough. Those children were literally praying. They associated the victims of this horrific act with their political enemies and ran to the defense of who they thought the killer was and the community they believed he came from, so much so that they wouldn't even identify him as trans because they didn't want to besmirch what they view as a protected category. And this is unbelievably hurtful and offensive and pathological, Chris, especially in a moment when a community is mourning.
Especially insane, insensitive, and some would say evil. That's just an easy way to classify this, but having people say, not the time for thoughts and prayers. Praying is the problem here, wrote Brian Krasenstein. What? What are you talking about? And they're like, no, we need to take away everyone's ability to defend themselves. What? And we saw very similar words from the mayor of Minneapolis, that Harry Sisson, were broadcasting powerful words. This is great. As even Fox News was too afraid to mention the trans aspect of all this, which is ridiculous. Clearly, there's a major aspect of this. Now, that's major criticism of the left wing, which I thought was very ridiculous here. There's also very interesting criticism of the right wing here, which was issued by Nick Fuentes here, which I thought was also very relative and important to think about in hindsight here. But clearly, like, you're dealing with a religious community that was just attacked, a specific religion that was just attacked, and you're telling them not to do the one thing that they do, a part of their religious practices, as you're hiding up and you're covering up the perpetrator of this act, since he clearly identifies as one of the people that you champion and bastioned as your protected group of people. Yeah, that's just weird. Yeah, that's just insane. I'm sorry, but disrespectful, evil is one way of describing that type of behavior here. Now, the criticisms of the right here are also pretty interesting by Nick Fuentes, which I think also are important to think about here.
It's no different. It's no different. And I think that, you know, and this is something I've been meaning to say for a long time, the spirit of our Christian religion is not judgment, although, of course, we're going to speak the truth about what is right and wrong, and we're going to assert it forcefully, but it's not contempt, it's not disdain, it's not cruelty that we're pretending is, admonition for someone's own good. The heart of our religion is mercy, forgiveness, compassion, charity above all else. And that's something I think that's missing across the board, whether you...
And he talked about how a lot of people responded to this particular event by just trying to dunk on this person and blame everyone of this type of caliber. And it's kind of a nuanced take. I disagree with some elements of it. This is a guy who's known for being a little bit of a troll. This guy's known for saying kind of controversial things that are kind of hyperbolic, that are meant to get people's eyes and attention on him. And with his kind of very aggressive attacks, him talking about, now it's time to be Christian. Okay, great message. I agree with it. But I think there needs to be a little bit more kind of self-reflection, just like I had my own kind of self-reflection on a lot of these kind of breaking news events that I think deserve important aspects of kind of thought and prayer. But I think all of us, and I agree with the overall message though, all of us kind of need to step back when these moments happen. We should try to understand them as best as we can, but we shouldn't try to try to get political brownie points on them off of the backs of the children that are laid bloody in front of us. That's something that I think is also a little bit evil here. Now, this shooter was trans, but he also drew a picture of himself as Baphomet and described, quote, demonic forces controlling him on his in his journal. And a lot of people are saying this is what trans ideology does. This could quite literally become, quote, possessed by demons. And if you're spiritual, and if you're religious, you're like, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, there's no other way. A sane kid, a normal person who's not possessed by demons, could do something as horrific as to do dry runs, as to practice, as to try to find pleasure off of torturing, hurting, and taking the lives of small children, especially children that are in Catholic school, that are there as a form of religious practice that is supposed to represent purity, peace, love, God. And I think there is a demonic aspect of this that needs to be kind of talked about, addressed. Is there any way of quantifying it? Is there any way of breaking it down? There was a very interesting segment on the Leela Rose show that had a member of the clergy describe the kind of situation when it comes to a lot of these events and demonic possession, which I think there's a correlation of, not just with the symbols, not just with the representations, not just with the kind of opening kind of writings of like, yeah, demons are, controlling this or that type of person. I think we don't understand a lot of the kind of religious spiritual world. A lot of us don't. A lot of us just don't have the knowledge. And I know I'm still just scratching at the surface when it comes to fully understanding it. We have the basic core principles of like, don't hurt others and don't do evil, don't steal, don't lie. And that's something that I, try to live by. And live by, I understand that there's kind of a weird kind of aspect to this where, and again, I've talked to people, and I don't know how much I could say here, but I talked to very prominent, powerful people, and a lot of them literally tell me, oh yeah, you sacrifice a loved one and then you get super famous. That's how a lot of these people get to where they are. People literally sell their soul to the devils, and people who are making it in particular industries and entertainment are told, yeah, you're going to worship the devil. Once you do, you'll be super famous. That's how it works. That's how it is. Clear as day from my own personal perspectives, opinions, and conversations I had. And I don't think I'm being trolled here. I think and I can't really go into great detail, but it's pretty clear. That's what's happening here in my own personal opinion.
personally convinced that this lone wolf terrorism thing in this country is probably at least 80% inspired by the demons. Now, obviously, many of these people have psychological conditions of isolation and anger and some narcissism, but he takes those people and then he manipulates them. I mean, what could be more demonic than going into a school, shooting little kids, and then killing yourself? 100 years ago, no one even thought of that. Even a terrorist wouldn't go into a school.
There were a lot. Everybody had a gun like 150 years ago.
It's a sign of a demonic affliction and a demonic program. You go into a school, shoot everybody up, and then kill yourself. If we stopped publicizing these things, I bet you they would dry up. This is going to be my moment in the sun. I'm going to get the national news. I think if actually we stopped publicizing this completely, it would attenuate it quite a bit.
Yeah, and this is why I made the argument, I have made multiple arguments. Stop showing this dude's face. Stop showing this dude's name. Like, stop trying to make him infamous. Call him a dirtbag, but stop showing his name, stop showing his face. Stop it. You create copycat effects, and I think there's a lot of those copycat effects. I think there's a lot of individuals that see this and are inspired to do more. He was inspired by other people, other sycophants. And I think that's how kind of demonic possession works. It's like, oh yeah, you start feeding into the same kind of residency, the same kind of frequency, the same kind of energies that of course possess them. And I would argue that whether we like it or not, media is helping spread this demonic possession. One, just by this kind of evil, self-gratification, egotistical, like I need to get political brownie point. I need to get clicks off of this. That also is super weird. But most importantly, creating the copycat effect, spreading it out there, and then spreading the kind of demonic possession, which I think we should be doing everything in our power to stop. And if you agree, share this video. I know I could be better, and I'm going to do my best to be as best as I can. If you think there's specific ways that I could be better, let me know why down in the comment section below. I always appreciate all the constructive criticism and all the real kind of comments from you guys, because you guys are amazing and incredible. Thank you so much for supporting me on wearechange.shop. Beautiful and amazing human beings. Stay tuned for more, all here exclusively on youtube.com/wearechange.